Thank you for tuning in to Tamara for Georgia. I am Tamara Johnson Shealey, your candidate for the United States Senate. I'm an independent Democrat that believes that reparations will make America great. It is time that we unite our country once and for all. Please go to my website. It's tamaraforgeorgia.com. And please join me every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here for Tamara for Georgia. Good morning. Oh, good morning, good morning, good morning, y'all. Oh, I am running on prayers and fumes, so keep praying. Your girl is out here stomping. Y'all, we are 10 days. Today is the 14th, Saturday the 14th of May. We are 10 days away. 10 days away from Election Day. 10 days away, y'all. We are so close. I just want to say thank you to all of you that have been riding this wave, and it has been a wave. We've been riding this wave for a year. I'm tired, and but we're gonna finish strong, and we're gonna win our race, y'all. I feel, we're walking in something that's unprecedented, and walking in purpose. And I'm excited. I'm encouraged. I feel good about this. But I wanted to come today and bring you, I've been around the state, I've been around the counties. I'm on Zooms. I'm everywhere I need to be, whenever I need to be there. And when I'm invited, just know that, a lot of times in this particular race, I am not invited. Sometimes I just show up, and I have just shown up, kind of threw some folks off when I just show up. But yep, I've just shown up and let it do what it do. And this is where we are. But today's broadcast, y'all, I just wanted to really bring to you some of what I've seen. And this is saying back from Savannah. Those of you, I'm deeply rooted in the South. I am from Effingham and Bryan County. Grew up in Chatham County in the city of Savannah, but my family is rooted in the country. And here's a saying that we have, you got to come see about us. And that means you got to check on your folks. You got to stay connected. And I went to see about some folks. I got phone calls and some information that warranted me to get down there. And while I was in Savannah, I made it a point to go by Yamacraw Village. I can tell you that's downtown Savannah. I grew up on the east side of Savannah. I went to Johnson High School, and in the 90s, 80s, late 80s, early 90s, when I was in high school, the children from Yamacraw Village, downtown Savannah, were bused. Many of them were bused over to the east side of Savannah, where I was bused over there as well. M2M program, minority to majority program, I think is how it goes. Well, those of us who were Black were literally still being integrated into white schools. And yeah, so over there at Johnson High School, we were bused over there from all over Savannah. And I have a lot of friends that grew up in this housing projects, grew up in Caton Homes, where Senator Warnock grew up, grew up in a lot of these areas that were underserved then and are still underserved now. But I wanted to lend my broadcast today to this level of poverty that most people don't know exists in Georgia, like oblivious to it. Literally, you come into, you go back to your homes in the suburbs, and you kind of live your life, and you're really oblivious to what is happening with Black people here in the great state of Georgia. So I wanted to lend the broadcast today to that. So let me share my screen. So I have several articles that I want to start with, but then I also have some video clips as well, where I actually went through their So let me share my screen, y'all. Let me share. I want to talk about first the UN and how the United Nations did a poverty report, and they found shocking inequality in the world's richest nation, right here in the United States. You know, we tend to believe that America is great, and I honestly believe that it is a great nation off the backs of those of us who are descendants of chattel slavery and Native Americans. Nevertheless, the United Nations published a report on poverty in the United States. Let me make my screen larger, y'all. I'm just coming to you and bringing information that I find. Let me make this much, much larger so you can see it. So the United Nations has published a report. Y'all, this was back in 2018. For those of you who don't know and didn't know that this even happened, but the United Nations published a report on poverty in the United States. It says the UN report says that of the 40 million poor Americans, about 5.3 million live in third world conditions of absolute poverty. And that's existing right here in the great state of Georgia. The study also suggests recent tax reforms will worsen the situation of U.S. citizens and ensure that the country remains the most unequal society in the developed world, and hence why reparations is so important, why it's so vital, why the urgency, why I run with this reparations agenda. No more tax reform policies. It just says here that tax reforms will worsen the situation. Cut the check, America. The U.S. reporter for human rights, Philip Austin, was the report's lead author. In an interview with the Ohio Valley Resource, he said poverty has significant human rights implications. He says, I think that if people are really living in very poor circumstances, their ability to exercise a lot of their basic civil rights is greatly impaired. Goes on to say, this was again back in 2018. He says this week he released his final report, which finds that the U.S. has the highest rate of income inequality among Western countries. It says in 2018, the country had more than 25% of the world's billionaires. 25% of the world's billionaires are right here in this country. And we got people that are homeless sleeping on the streets. We got people that are hungry going to bed every night. When we have 25%, a quarter of the world's billionaires right here in America. It says the country also has one of the lowest voter turnout rates among developed countries, with just a little more than half of the population casting ballots in the 2016 presidential election. Austin said it's the responsibility of the government to make sure its people are able to live with dignity. He hopes this report will enlighten leaders in the U.S. to improve the lives of those in poverty. Says, I think one of my challenges, to the extent that I find really serious problems, is to shed light on those, put the spotlight on them, and hopefully a government that really cares would really respond and try to address those problems. He says goes on to say some of the report's suggestions include reducing the incarcerated population, absolutely, funding social programs, recognizing a right to health care, and reducing income inequality. This is the work that America has to do. This is the work that America has to do. When the UN recognizes or spotlighted the fact that America has third world conditions right here in this great nation. So I went in, I got a call to go and take a look at Forest Cove over in Atlanta. And Forest Cove, y'all, I went on, just to kind of see the conditions of this apartment complex in the Thomasville Heights community. It broke my heart. I actually drove through. I'm gonna show you some footage where I actually drove through there to see it for myself. I wanted to see it for myself, what was really going on in this community. So I actually did a Google search to get some more images, y'all. And this is Forest Cove. And I saw it. It is truly, and it's still there. Some of these images are maybe a year or two or so old. But y'all, if you drive over there, this is exactly what it looks like today. And people live there. Our people, Black people, live there. I saw it for myself. These are not pictures that somebody, you know, doctored and put on the internet. No, this is what I saw for myself. So let me stop sharing real quick because I want to pull up a video. I have a few videos that I want to share with you. This is where I actually drove through the community and saw it for myself. Unbelievable, unbelievable. People live there, and I was careful not to show anybody's face. You know, I stayed back. I stayed in the car, and I stayed back far enough where I didn't show anybody's face. Again, dignity. Let me find it, y'all. Here it is. Hold on a second. I'm doing a multitasking here. 1 second, but I found it. Let me share my screen again. There it goes. All right. This is, again, the Thomasville Heights community, that Forest Cove apartment complex. So that is the Thomasville Heights community that I was floored. I left from over there, and it took me a minute to just even get my bearings, because there were people that still live there, whose children are still living in these conditions. Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta, the city too big to hate, Black Mecca. When you have people living in third world conditions right in the city of Atlanta, right in the city. So let me share my screen again. I want to show you a video.
11th Southeast Atlanta apartment.
Let me share my screen again. This is a news story about the apartment complex. So they know. It's not like they don't know. Those in office, elected officials, they're clear. They know.
Complex is set to be demolished, forcing hundreds of people to relocate.
That includes dozens of students leaving one elementary school too slim to operate. We have tracked the dilapidated conditions at the Forest Cove Apartments for more than a decade. CBS 46's Patrick Quinn joins us live from nearby Thomasville Heights Elementary. And tonight, Patrick, parents, they are pressing school officials on where they should send their kids.
And tonight, some parents got some answers. Most students, they will be rezoned for Slater Elementary. That's just down the street. The principal, he will head there next school year as well. Many teachers, they will actually lose their jobs. That's just the reshuffling going on here at this elementary school. Across the street at this apartment complex, well, there's a lot more unknown. The Forest Cove Apartments are falling apart. They have been for at least a decade.
It's heartbreaking. How can you let a human live like this? It's hurtful.
This is Miss Peaches. She's lived here roughly 30 years and is the unofficial spokesperson for the federally subsidized housing complex.
It be so full of water, your feet will get wet.
In December, an Atlanta municipal court judge ordered the demolition of the property and the relocation of all residents. This decision, in turn, effectively shut the doors of the nearby Thomasville Heights Elementary, where 75% of the student body is from Forest Cove.
Now they talking about closing the school, so I don't know what the next step is. I don't know.
At a closed-door Q&A meeting, parents questioned school officials on where their kids will go and when. But those questions can't confidently be answered until the people at Forest Cove know where they're going. Last month, Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens toured the complex. He said he's seeking Section 8 vouchers to temporarily relocate all residents while the apartments are rebuilt. That hasn't happened yet. Ms. Peaches is hopeful. She's also seen political promises fall flat.
But I'm hoping the mayor step up this time. I think it's been the fifth mayor I've been through.
In fact, here live, I did reach out to the city about any relocation plans. I did not hear back, though. Ms. Peaches herself, she told me that she heard from the city today saying they need a couple more weeks to find where to put all of these people. Now, the fear right now tonight is that all of these people will get scattered, leaving the kids just lost in the shuffle. This is a story we'll certainly continue to follow. Live tonight in Southeast Atlanta, Patrick Quinn, CBS 46 News.
So yes, Forest Cove, third world conditions right here in Atlanta, right here in Georgia. So I went down again. I was in Savannah, and I went to visit Yamacraw Village here in Savannah, and same conditions. I want to show you a news article. 1 second.
2.7 meter
Let's get past
EcoBoost
this.
engine
1
and
second.
Sync 4A
1
with a
second.
12.
All right, let's see if we got the story pulled here.
Yamacraw Village.
Okay, this is about Yamacraw Village. Let me share my screen. This is Savannah, Georgia. All right, here we go.
Demolition, the decision one step closer to tear down the historic apartment complex in Savannah.
Anna Brooke Butler explains why and what this means for the people who live there.
Damage like this is why the Housing Authority wants to tear down Yamacraw Village. They say this is simply going to cost them too much to repair.
Basically, it's less expensive for the Housing Authority of Savannah to build new units than to renovate the units we have.
Residents of Yamacraw Village say living in these units hasn't been easy.
Definitely had some issues living in Yamacraw when I had to call the housing authority to come and to replace certain things, fix certain situations. And so that kind of made me a little bit frustrated.
Despite the frustration, when they first learned the units might be torn down, many felt anxious.
We all know in the city of Savannah area, there's really no much of housing complex, public housing, low income, affordable housing, where I'm to go for me and my daughter.
But in a series of informational meetings on Wednesday, the Savannah Housing Authority reassured residents if their application to demolish this complex gets approved by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, they wouldn't have to move out this year.
We will not be relocated in 2022, only in 2023.
On top of that, the Housing Authority says they would help residents to find new homes and cover relocation expenses.
They have the right to be relocated to a comparable unit, which is a unit of same size.
But some are still wondering what's going to be done with this property.
I don't want the land to be used for a motel or for other things. Land is valuable around downtown Savannah. The people are more valuable.
The Housing Authority says, contrary to popular belief, they do not have plans to build a motel, hotel, or bar here, but they do intend to keep the purpose of the land the same.
It's our intent, our desire to build new affordable housing units.
People who live in Yamacraw Village now have 2 weeks to fill out this form with any comments or questions they may have. The Housing Authority says they're going to be posting responses to those comments and questions on their website by March 9th. Reporting in Savannah, I'm Brooke Butler, WJCL 22 News.
Okay, so that was a report. Hold on, let me close this out.
It's time for our new.
What's the latest buzz? It's 4.
1 second. All right. Yamacraw Village, y'all, has a lot of history. I mean, this goes back to Oglethorpe, James Oglethorpe coming into Savannah, like the founding of quote unquote Savannah, like it was lost. The natives that were already there, this tribe, this Indian tribe. And it's when you start digging, you start going down rabbit holes, and I went down and I couldn't come out. And I'm gonna tell you, when we get on the other side of this, I would love to do some tours down in Savannah and have you guys to come down and really see for yourself. There's all this rich history that is American history that really is the root of this country. Started on the East Coast in Savannah and South Carolina. Like, all this history, this American history, is rooted here in the South, and we are it. we're just a huge part of it. So let me show you. I actually had a conversation with a community activist that was pre-recorded. Let me bring this video up, and then we'll get back into into Savannah. 1 second. Tia Brightwell joined me for an interview about Yamacraw Village. So let me share my screen again. All right, here we go. All right, good morning. Good morning. I have with me today Miss Tia Brightwell. She is an activist, y'all. She's an advocate. This lady is boots on the ground. When you're talking about a soldier, this lady is a soldier down in the Chatham County area. Good morning, Tia.
Good morning. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you for joining me today.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And I won't keep you long because I know you have a busy day ahead of you. But listen, I came down to Savannah just recently for a meet and greet. And I heard about what was happening with Yamacraw Village, and someone who's boots on the ground, you understand that, how all of these things are happening in the city. You may, I just kind of wanted to get your take on, the displacement of people in these housing projects. Like, what's going on?
Yeah. Again, being a resident of housing, I think a lot of times, I'm always wearing multiple hats, right? So I'm always trying to figure out what side and how to operate on each side, right? So for me, it's very sad to see a group of residents be, I said, displaced, right? And when I say that, I mean because they are pushed to now try to find other means. They're pushed out any education, maybe without any, time, and it's according to our leaders, right? And again, I said this statement earlier. It's mostly the leaders in the middle.
Gatekeepers is what we call them, Tia.
Yes, gatekeepers are what we call them. Yes. So we have your gatekeepers in the middle, and they're not being accountable to the top. So they're asking for some type of accountability from the bottom, but you can't get that if you're not being accountable. And this is one of my message that I preach. How can uncorrupt call out uncorrupt? How? How can the middle, the gatekeepers, say they're helping the people, but all in actuality, they're making it very difficult for people to live, raise their children, because properties are being sold without any engagement from the residents in that neighborhood. And I know that to be true.
Yeah, and that's where I get I'm like, okay, this is generations of families that have lived in these housing projects. These are generations of people. Where do they go, and where do you place them? If there's where's the upward mobility? I would love to see, and this is why I fight so hard for reparations, why I fight so hard for our repair and the redress that needs to happen for those of us who are descendants of chattel slavery. We are, they're leaving people behind, and I would love to see us get our 40 acres and a mule. I'll take a tractor. But yes, I want to see us become homeowners. I want to see people come out of those projects, that housing, and be homeowners, own land, be able to grow your own food, have space to I want to see that happen for those people, Tia.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I really want to see, and again, people sometimes get me confused. I want to see all people prosper. But I just woke up to realize I am Black in America, poor, suffering, and there's a whole lot of us that's right there along those lines. And we deserve to live a life that's equal, like our other ethnic groups and things of that nature. So I feel like for us, it's always oppression though for us. It's always, oh, you guys think too much of yourselves. And we know you're Black and we know Black people exist, but do you really know that we exist? Do you really know that we have Black boys and we have Black girls and they have nothing and we have nothing to leave them? And the United States was built on our backs.
That generational wealth here that we were never able to accumulate, where other ethnicities, like you say, they have it. You know, they have it. White America has 10 times the wealth of Black America. It's clear off of our work. You know, so this is a debt that is owed, and this is why I fight so hard. But coming down to Yamacraw Village and seeing how, you know, there's still some people living in some of those apartments. There's some people, I drove past, and I'm going to show it in just a few minutes, but I drove past and I got some footage where you see buildings that are boarded up, apartments that are boarded up, and then you see people living in one, and then 2 or 3, 4 or 5 more boarded up, and they're just kind of still living in this situation.
Yeah.
What is really going on?
It's neglect. It's neglect. It's real neglect. And to cover up the neglect, they sold the property. I don't really know to who that buyer for sure is, but we've heard rumors that it's SCAD. But we don't know for sure if that's true. But Ms. Davis, who is the executive director of housing, has said that Yamacraw has been sold. It has been sold. So that means, again, the families that you see that are there, again, we ask our question ourselves, how are they going to move? You know, who's going to help them move? And, you know, what are they going to give them to help them in the midst of being sold, where I'm thinking I'm going to be paying my rent and saving so that I can move my family to a place where I don't end back up into poverty, or I don't end back up into subsidized living or public housing, which, to be honest, public housing won't exist. And really, to be honest, it's slowly going away.
And that is why reparations, this is why we fight. This is why we have to get the resources that we need. Again, I want to see those families have land. I want to see them be homeowners. I want to see them be able to create generational wealth. America is going to have to cut the check.
Got to cut the check.
Yeah.
I agree. Generations. It's time for us to see wealth. It's time for our labor, the blood. You know, I didn't know my grandfather, but I knew that he was a longshoreman. I knew that my great grandfather was a longshoreman as well. So even the brick here, you know, some of my cousins, they laid this stuff, they worked and never saw really a penny of it. They are all dead and gone. And I'm here now fighting a fight so that the generation after me don't have to go through the same things that we went through. Again, building that generational wealth for our children to not have to suffer if they decide to go off to college, or if they decide to come straight out of high school, can they be entrepreneurs? And those are the things that I fight for grassroots. And sometimes it's hard to fight for it when people feel like their table is not the table that you're supposed to be a part of, right? Right. So you end up creating this table where people who are left out and don't have a voice, we come together, and that's where that voice is presented, or that's what we're saying, this is our table. And we want to do very much the opposite. We don't want you to bring us to your table. We want to bring you to our table. Yeah.
So Tia, I know I didn't have much time with you today, but I just want to say thank you for all that you do in the community and being a fearless. I mean, I admire you so much, because you don't stop, you don't quit, and you're gonna call a thing a thing. So I just want to say thank you for all the great work that you do, and I appreciate you. And it is an honor to call you a friend. I just want to say thank you.
And it is an honor to call you a friend, and you're welcome as well. I look forward to you I really do, my friend. I look forward to you.
Amen.
Blessings.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
All
Have a
right.
good day, Tia. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. You do the same.
These are residences where people have lived for literally generations of Savannahans have lived here. And now the city is displacing these residents, again, who have been here for generations. And this is sacred land, y'all. Here is the First Bryan Baptist Church. Let me read to you what it says. It says, First Bryan Baptist Church. It says, First Bryan dates its founding to the Constitution of the Ethiopian Church of Jesus Christ under Reverend Andrew Bryan in January 1788, making it one of the nation's oldest African-American Baptist churches. Known later as First Colored Church, First African, the third African, the congregation took the name First Bryan Baptist in 1867. Construction of the first church building began here in 1793 on property purchased by Reverend Bryan. The current building was completed in 1874. First Bryan ministers, including Garrison Frazier and Ulysses Houston, attended the nearby meeting of local Black leaders with General Sherman in January of 1865 that resulted in Special Field Order 15, promising confiscated coastal land to freed slaves. In the 20th century, civil rights leader W.W. Law taught Sunday school at First Bryan for many years. So y'all, this land dates back. And the people date back to Special Field Order 15, y'all. Right here in Yamacraw Village. I'm actually gonna get out and go over and read some more and share with you why this land is so sacred and what this is really, really all about. So stay with me, y'all. Let me get out. Figured we'd do something a little different this morning. Put my window up. Give me a second, y'all. I'm getting out. We're gonna walk around. All right. This is the First Bryan Baptist Church, y'all. Let me step back so you can actually see how beautiful and sacred this land is. Yamacraw Village, y'all. So let's bring you over here. Historic Site and Monument Commission. There was a hearing back in January Andrew Bryan was born at Goose Creek, South Carolina, about 1716. He came to Savannah as a slave, and here he was baptized by the Negro missionary, the Reverend George Leal, in 1781. Leal evacuated with the British in 1782 at the close of the American Revolution, and Bryan took up his work. He preached at Yamacraw and at Brampton Plantation. On January 20th, 1788, the Reverend Abraham Marshall White and the Reverend Jesse Peter, who's colored, ordained Andrew Bryan and certified the congregation at a Brampton barn as the Ethiopian Church of Jesus Christ. The Reverend Bryan moved from place to place with his congregation and was even imprisoned and whipped for preaching during a time when whites feared any slave gathering as a focus for rebellion. He persevered and finally bought his and his family's freedom and purchased this lot for his church. Andrew Bryan pastored until his death, October 16 of 1812. He is buried in Savannah's Laurel Grave Cemetery. Let's go over. There's another marker I want to share with you. It's a little chilly out here this morning. Yamacraw Village, y'all. I don't know what was here, but obviously there was something here on these walls that has since been removed. Houses are boarded up. There's obviously some people that still live here. There's cars parked around here. They may be workers. Some of the houses look like somebody might still be in them, but let's go over here. Yeah, obviously some people are still living here. I see clothes on the line. The birthplace of John C. Fremont, one of the two native Georgians who served as generals in the U.S. Army during the Civil War. John C. Fremont was born nearby on January 21st, 1813, as an Army officer. His 1840s explorations of the American West gained him fame as the Pathfinder. During the U.S.-Mexican War, Fremont seized California for the U.S., and he was elected as one of the first senators in 1850. Opposed to slavery's expansion, he ran unsuccessfully in 1856 as the first Republican presidential candidate. During the Civil War, Fremont's 1861 proclamation freeing all Confederate-owned slaves in Missouri was annulled by President Lincoln. After lackluster performance as a combat commander, Fremont resigned from the U.S. Army in 1864. He later served as governor of the Arizona Territory, 1878 to 1881, and died in New York in 1890. This was erected for the Civil War 150 commemoration of Georgia by the Georgia Historical Society, the Georgia Department of Economic Development, and the Georgia Battlefields Association. Again, y'all, Yamacraw Village. I wanted to make a point to come here because there's a lot that's going on. And we have silence from our legislators about this land. This is, again, there's been generations and generations of families that have lived here. And still there's some people that obviously live here that they haven't moved out yet. But I wanted to come and show you myself what was going on and see for myself what was actually going on. You can see, let's zoom in some, you can see some of the houses are, I'm sorry, y'all, boarded up. People still live here, y'all. People still live here.
All right, that was Yamacraw Village in Savannah, Georgia. One thing about me as a candidate and just who I am, I'm gonna come see about you. You don't have to worry, Georgia. I know what that means, and I'm gonna come see about you. So, you know, that was hard to go into these areas where, you know, our history was so rooted. And I actually have a couple more articles. I only have about 15 minutes left, and I have a candidate that I'd like to share with you towards the end of the hour, candidate for lieutenant governor. But I want to give you a little bit more. You know, again, I started going down this rabbit hole, and some of this stuff I knew, but it was coming back to me. You know, being from Savannah, you know, this history is again, this is American history, our history. This is about Yamacraw Village. It sits on the west side of Savannah between West Boundary Street and Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, and just a few blocks away from the Savannah River. Built in the early 1940s with federal money, it was the city's second public housing project, consisting of 480 units that originally housed African Americans, along with a smaller number of German Jews and Irish Catholics. So y'all, we were there. Black people, Jews, Catholics, you know, that was when it was originally founded in the 40s. It says by the 1960s, Yamacraw Village was overwhelmingly African American and remains so to this day. As a part of the housing project's design, federal officials constructed an administration building in the image of one of the South's most iconic plantation mansions, y'all. So those pictures that I just showed you towards the end, let me make this bigger, y'all. This is where I went down the rabbit hole, and I had to like stop and like really kind of digest what I read and what I saw. And this building that I just showed you a second ago, this building, y'all, was a replica of a plantation house. And they built this damn replica in the middle of this housing project. They built the replica of this plantation house in the middle of this housing project. And that was some history that I did not know. Let me make my screen larger. So what I just showed you, this is the building that, again, as part of the housing project's design, when they designed this, federal officials constructed an administration building in the image of one of the South's most iconic plantation mansions. I had to, when I read that, and I keep repeating it, y'all, because it didn't sit with me. It hit me so hard. I had to come back and let it sit, and I realized that federal officials built this administration building to look exactly like this plantation house. Y'all, the article goes on to say, I was tongue-tied. Yeah, as our air-conditioned bus pulled up to the site, to the building. This was the person that wrote this article. He says, our tour guide, who grew up in the neighborhood, was visibly disgusted as he shared the history surrounding the building's history. Y'all, completed in 1941, the mansion was a copy of a nearby plantation home 3 miles east of Savannah, owned by Henry McAlpine. In addition to its rice fields, the Hermitage estates included a sawmill, brick plant, and an iron foundry, making it one of the one of the only antebellum river estates to achieve prominence through its industrial rather than its agricultural output. It says over 200 enslaved people who lived in 50 small uniform brick buildings located nearby oversaw the 610-acre plantation. It says the mansion was constructed in the Greek Revival style and featured twin curved staircases leading to a towered entrance on the parlor floor and shaved corners. After McAlpine's death in 1851, the property was divided between McAlpine's 6 children. Union soldiers under the command of General William T. Sherman gutted the mansion in December of 1864. Stories of loyal slaves. There's always some of us, y'all. I wouldn't have been so loyal. Says stories of loyal slaves hiding and helping the family uncover valuable property after the war was passed down to successive generations who struggled to maintain their holdings in the face of nearby industrial encroachment. It says in 1934, Henry Ford purchased the property. The following year, he had the mansion demolished and repurposed the bricks for the construction of his own plantation in Richmond Hill. That's another part of Georgia, y'all. So this was the original building of what it looked like on the Hermitage plantation. And this is the building they constructed in the middle of Yamacraw in the housing project, y'all. That was just enough history right there alone for me to just like, it took me a minute because I had to literally digest what I read because I never knew that. And it's the ugly history of the South that still lives today. That building is still there. I showed it to you. It's still there. Now, what they do with it moving forward will be quite interesting. Again, this land has been quote unquote sold. I don't know that to be true. We're still trying to figure out what has happened with Yamacraw Village. But again, Savannah, Georgia, again, Atlanta, Georgia, I'm coming to see about you. You can believe that. So I'm gonna stop because it takes us down the rabbit hole. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, but I wanted to bring to you a candidate conversation that I had. You know, we are 10 days away from the election here in Georgia. 10 days, a week from this coming Tuesday. Every time I think about it, I get excited, y'all. This is a race that I see. And I'm gonna stay there with that. So I want to share with you Mr. Jason Hayes. He's a candidate for lieutenant governor. He joined me for a broadcast. So let me bring you Mr. Jason Hayes before we head out at the top of the hour. Let me share my screen again. All right, good morning, good morning. I have a special guest with me this morning, everybody. Mr. Jason Hayes. He is a candidate for lieutenant governor here in the great state of Georgia. Good morning, Mr. Hayes.
Good morning, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. Welcome to the campaign trail in 2022.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But you're not new to politics, sir, are you?
No. I have, when I was in medical school, I actually was a congressional intern for Democrat Jim Cooper in Nashville. I've also done some policy work on the state level. But as far as running for office, I actually ran for state rep in North Fulton, Alpharetta specifically, for House District 49. Had a primary, won the vote at 54%. And as the Democratic nominee, I almost flipped a Republican seat, got 47.2% of the vote in a red conservative district, showed that I was liked by Democrats and well respected by Republicans. So yes, now running for this statewide position because Georgia needs value at the lieutenant governor's position, and they also need someone who has a background and experience in healthcare, business, and also looking to make sure that education is a priority. So I'm looking forward to the race for lieutenant governor.
Well, dive in, sir. Let the people know who you are. They know me. We can have this conversation. Tell them who you are and why you're running and share your platform. I'm going to give you the stage, sir.
Absolutely. Well, I was born in New Jersey. but raised in Louisiana where my family is, and public service is something that was instilled upon me. Father, my late father is a Navy veteran, mother, a retired nurse, and also my paternal grandparents, my grandmother, retired school teacher, my late grandmother, and also my late paternal grandfather, Army veteran. He was a master drill sergeant, also fought in World War II, Korean War, and then when he finished his military career, he ended up being a school teacher as well. And my maternal grandparents, my maternal grandmother was a homemaker, but my maternal grandfather was a small business owner as well. So public service is something that was instilled upon me at an early age. Also got exposure to politics whenever I was at 17, got into something called Boy State, sponsored by the American Legion. So got exposed to politics there as a young person. And also I was parliamentary procedure chair for FBLA, Future Business Leaders of America. And as we're aware, parliamentary procedure is critical to any legislative process. So ended up finishing the top of my class in high school. Also graduated from Xavier University of New Orleans with a degree in chemistry, pre-med in 1999, and then ended up going to Meharry Medical College, another HBCU, same as Xavier, Meharry, in 2004, where I got a master's in public health and a medical degree at the same time, and also did a congressional internship with Congressman Jim Cooper, and also did an internship at the Centers for Disease Control in epidemiology. When I finished that, ended up going to Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, got some excellent training there, and also became board certified in internal medicine, and then did a service commitment with the federal government, National Health Service Corps. It's a program that was started in the 70s to get doctors to underserved communities. I worked in a federal qualified health center in Memphis and Nashville, and also worked in a rural community in Jackson, Tennessee as well. Also got experience as a medical director at one of the FQHCs. So got some strong experience working in underserved communities. Also did some policy work in the state level in Tennessee, and also advocated for patients in Washington. So ended up, after I finished that service commitment, ended up being a travel doctor, traveled around the US, including in Georgia, where I worked in Lithonia as a doctor with AIDS Healthcare Foundation. So I got experience working with HIV patients here in Georgia. Decided to move here in 2014, 2015, got recruited by healthcare system. Been practicing in the Alpharetta area for 8 years. Then decided to go back and get a physician's executive MBA, which taught me a lot about health economics as well. Also learned about budgeting, finance, accounting, organizational change, management. Then ended up starting my own business in 2017, medical practice, small business owner. And then again, I mentioned before, ran for office in 2020 and almost flipped a red Republican district with 47.2% of the vote. Well liked by Democrats, respect by Republicans. So now running for Lieutenant Governor of Georgia. 4 reasons. 1, healthcare. We are ranked 43rd, and also in healthcare, that is, and also maternal mortality. We're the second worst in the United States for a pregnant woman here. And also there's an attack on women's reproductive health. So pushing for Medicaid expansion, but more importantly, it's healthcare access we're pushing for. So I want to get doctors in underserved communities, want to utilize the Health Service Corps. Also, we want to push education. Young people need to have options outside of just going to college. We need to bring back trade skill opportunities for young people. And also we need to start teaching finance in high school, in addition, teaching small business ownership. So when a young person graduates, they have an opportunity to go to college, and if not, they can start their own business, use their trade skill as well. 3, we must make sure that we push economic growth in our communities. One thing I notice about in Alpharetta versus College Park versus different pockets in Albany, Augusta, is small business ownership. So that's something that we have to push in all communities. We must push for a Georgia level small business association so we can help small business owners learn about how to do a business plan, learn how to get financing, that is debt financing, but also learn how to keep your business afloat. And if we have another pandemic or something tragic, we can help small business owners by staying open, whether if it's loans or any kind of grants. And then finally, voter access, voter protections. All candidates need to be talking about this. We must protect the right to vote. The current SB 202 and then other laws that are in play are very similar to grandfather clauses that we had in the 1800s, meaning if your grandfather couldn't vote, you couldn't vote. If your grandfather couldn't own property, you couldn't own property. So we need to make sure that laws like that aren't in effect now. So my goal as a lieutenant governor is to make sure we get SB 202 and other laws like that repealed. Currently at this time, our campaign is partnered up with an organization called Ride Share to Vote. That's Ride Share and the number 2 vote.com. Go to that website, and if you're someone that is limited with transportation or you're wheelchair bound or you just need help getting to the polls, we have individuals, volunteers ready to help give you a free ride to the polls. So again, thank you for allowing me with giving you my platform. If you want to learn more about me, go to www.jasonhayes, Hayes 4 FORGA.com, and also text Dr. Jason Hayes to the short code 90678.
Thank you, Dr. Hayes, for joining us
Thank
on
you.
this broadcast. You know, it is great to see all these candidates out here, and, you know, thank you for putting yourself out there to serve. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We want to bring value to the lieutenant governor's position. And what I ask voters to do is to look at all the candidates. And while you're looking and researching candidates, look at the current condition of yourself. Do you have better health care? Do you have less crime in your community? Do you have opportunities at small business ownership? Is your right to vote better? If you say yes, then vote for these other candidates that say they have all this experience as state reps or have all this support from retired career politicians. But if you come back and say, well, Dr. Hayes, I don't have money in my pockets, it's hard to get a job, I'm trying to be a small business owner, it's really difficult, there's still a lot of crime in my community, then it is your ethical right and responsibility to start looking at other candidates who have real life experience and can bring value to the position of lieutenant governor. So I pray that you are not being under siege or not being duped by commercials or duped by certain mailers. We need us to start looking at candidates who are true to us, true to Black people, true to the marginalized communities, and who are here for people. And what I tell people is that I'm here to heal Georgia as a medical doctor, but I'm also here for people. As a doctor, they teach us that we must take care of people regardless of their background, their socioeconomic status. So I'm here for people, not the party.
Thank you for putting yourself out there to serve. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. That was a conversation with the candidate, y'all. So we are here. We are 10 days away from election day here in Georgia. And, you know, a lot of these candidates are grassroots candidates. There's not millions of dollars being poured into these campaigns. So, you know, you have to get the word out. You got to do your homework. You got to do your research on these candidates and spread the word. Spread the word. You know, social media is a free platform and we use it, but you know, we got to use it for the right reasons. And right now it's election season and we got to get the right people elected to office. But before I head out, I usually stop right at the top of the hour. But before I head out, because Facebook has shut this down, I'm going to play this for those of you that have not seen. You know, I got my reparations t-shirt on. I'm getting ready to hit the streets. So I'm ready, y'all, but Facebook has shut this particular video down. So I'm going to play it. This is Senator Warnock's answer to the reparations question for those of you who have not seen it. So let me share my screen. Let me make this larger. And let me share my screen because I want you to hear this answer for yourself. For those of you who have not heard his answer to the question of reparations. So let me share my screen.
My question is, it seems that we're always dealing with the symptoms of the problems instead of the bigger issues. And it seems that's one of the issues that could kind of fix all the issues is talking about reparations. And we don't talk about reparations enough in this country. And the last that I checked, one
second, y'all. Let me back this up a bit because I think there's a part to the question that's missing. 1 second. Let me share my screen. Sorry, y'all. Give me 1 second. Here we go.
question is, it seems that we're always dealing with the symptoms of the problems instead of the bigger issues. And it seems that's one of the issues that could kind of fix all the issues is talking about reparations. And we don't talk about reparations enough in this country. And the last that I checked, the House had gotten the HB 40 past committee. And as far as I can tell, that's where it stopped. And I know you're in the Senate, so I'm not sure what you can do about that. But I did just wonder what you could do to further that cause in America right now.
So there is a bill to study the issue of reparations. Here's what I'm for: equity and opportunity. And I wake up every day fighting for that. And I do it in such a way that I think benefits all of us. But when you look at the issue of healthcare, for example, if we can get Medicaid expanded, it would help all of us if we could get Medicaid expanded, if we could get a fix. But it would have a disproportionate impact on communities of color because the disparities are so great. When we invest in jobs, when we invest in infrastructure, when we invest in a whole range of these things, when we deal with the expanded child tax credit, which helps 97% of families with children. But when you look at the racial wealth gap, it will be a great help to communities of color and other marginalized people.
All right, I just wanted to share some of that because his answer to reparations was equity and opportunity when Black America's house is on fire. When our house is on fire, and this is a debt that is owed, his answer is equity and opportunity. All lives matter when Black lives need to matter right now, Senator Warnock. So I am Tamara Shealey, candidate for the United States Senate. Y'all, we have a race to win. Spread the word. Do what we do. You know, when we don't have money, we make it do what it do. So I'm asking you to spread the word. Use your social media platforms for spreading the word about these campaigns, particularly mine, ours. This race to the United States Senate, reparations is at the top of my agenda. It has never been about me. I'm not running, with using my name. It's about reparations, y'all. It's about reparations. You can see it. It's about the message, not the messenger. So spread the word. Spread the word. Spread the word. I am Tamara Shealey, y'all. Let me hit these streets. I love you. I see you next week. Y'all have a great afternoon.
When we come to Washington in this campaign, we're coming to get our check. Young prodigies. Grow. Free. Reparations, Martin said we coming for our check. Reparations, say it loud. 1, 2, mic check. Cream. Cash rules everything around me. Dream. My legacy, you can't stop me. Coming for our 40 acres, HR 40 and our paper.
Kicking the door. Coming for our 40 acres and more. 6.4 trillion. Miss that no, we fought the Civil War. We came from the poor. Start from the bottom, we still on the floor. We pray to the Lord. Amen. Picking the cotton, our fingers are sore. Straight out the underground, escaping from slavery. The only cemetery that we had with a The Sunday was bloody, no cap. Stop capping. Speaking of cap, Kaepernick taking knees at the flag. Where my justice at? We built this nation, better give me them racks. All fat, just imagine a little bit of gasoline. 4 girls got bombed back in 63.
400 years, yeah, we still ain't free. I rise, we rise, take a knee.
Kaepernick.
Reparations, Martin said we coming for our check. Reparations, say it loud. 1, 2, mic check.
Cream, cash rules everything around me.
Dream.
My legacy, you can't stop me.
Coming for our 40 acres, ain't your 40 and our paper.
We stuck in the trap, with no shoes, trying to pull up bootstraps. Increasing the gap, wealth got bigger, so we had to adapt. Discriminated cause we black, I know it worth more than I know it's a fact. They tryna feel scraps, strike me on board so we can't come back.
30 years ago on April 19, Yusef and Triremi chemical read. If it happened to them, think it happened to me. Screaming out, ready 5 to a free.
Prodigy.
Reparations, Martin said we